Welcome back. Sam Roberts Show. Our pal Jon Taffer is here again from Bar Rescue. Of course, Bar Rescue season 10 returns on Sunday. Yes, or
season 9 returns.
Season 9 returns.
Sunday.
Season 10 is upcoming.
It's upcoming. We've already signed season 10, which is quite flattering, I might say.
Huge. That's why I saw the press release for it.
Well, you're alumni, buddy.
On the way. I know.
You're Bar Rescue alumni.
It's so crazy. People still, and I love how much those shows all get replayed, because people still, and I don't even look the same. I think I still had hair.
You did have hair.
When I did Bar Rescue. But people absolutely come up to me. Like, there are people that I hadn't seen since high school, and I've done all this radio, and I've done everything that I've done, and they go, "Hey, what have you been up to? I saw you on Bar Rescue." And that's all they know, because there's so many eyes on this show now. It's pretty remarkable.
So years ago, I was working with Sheryl Crow on a TV project, and we're standing on a corner in Nashville, and the cars are all driving by, and they're beeping, and they're yelling, "John, John, John." Not one person yelled Sheryl. And I felt sort of bad. And she goes, "You see, rock and roll, you can be anonymous," was what she said.
So she was happy about it.
I think she was,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So season 9 is coming back now. This season, I think it's the first season that you've been cycling in some guest hosts coming in. And I know that people are loving the guest hosts, but at the same time,
it's a little mixed review.
Well, they missed their Taffer. I mean,
and you were kind the way you presented it. I appreciate
that. I'm trying to be respectful. But they do. I mean, your personality is such, I mean, it's the nucleus of the show.
Yeah.
So that's a risk, right? Bringing in guest hosts?
Sure.
Making that decision to do that?
And the other risk is the key point is for them not to try to be me.
Right.
Right, because I think Bar Rescue is successful because you've been there. You know this. It's authentic. It's real. What happens is completely real. So when you bring a guest host, you don't want them to get contrived. You don't want them to get ahead of themselves, to pre-think lines, things they want to say. You want to keep it in real time. And that's a challenge, because when I did the show in the early days, think of your early days in radio.
Right.
You didn't freewheel it then. You didn't have the confidence to.
Absolutely.
You had your ducks in a row, man. You knew what you were going to say, how you were going to say it. You thought about it the night before. Now you don't have to do that so much. You're a pro. You can sit down and, it becomes sort of a natural extension of yourself.
Yeah.
Bar Rescue's that for me. I don't have to think about anything. I just will sort of go out there and do it. For them, I got to stop and prevent them from being contrived. Now, they're hosting the show, but I'm still there behind the scenes.
You are?
Oh, I'm working on a remodel. I speak to them off camera. I speak to them at least 3 times a day. And I'm very, very engaged, because it's still my show, buddy. I'm still executive producer of it. And so I'm not trying to walk away from it. I'm trying to expand it.
Are you, and is that, so why did that decision get made? Was it just because, are you still part of it but not on the scene, or are you still traveling to every show?
No, I'm not on scene.
Right.
I'm off scene, but I'm very involved through all the calls, and I get all the blueprints and all that kind of stuff. But it simply was, we used to do 40 a year, Sam. Each show is a week away. That's 40 weeks a year on the road. There was 1 year we did 50.
Jeez.
And I love the show, but traveling that much is really, it's just too much. And I want to enjoy myself a little bit. So I've agreed that I'll do about 20 shows a year.
Which is still a lot, by the way.
Which is a lot of shows. And I'll be involved in any of the others that they want to do. So we'll see. Right now, season 10 is all me.
It is?
Yep.
Wow.
So we'll see how it goes from there.
How many? And so you built such a library of shows, too.
272 episodes of Bar Rescue. Blows me away, Sam. I mean, I thought I'd do a pilot and go home. I was happy doing a pilot and go home. How cool is that?
Right.
I did a pilot.
That's fun.
then I'll never forget this. After season 2, I went to my production company and said, okay, so season 2, statistically, we're much more likely to make it to season 3 now, right? And they said, no. The statistical likelihood of 2 to 3 is one of the lowest in all of television.
Really?
Because the buzz sort of wears off, I guess. But here we are, 15 years. You were on what, about 5 years ago?
It's probably about 5. Yeah. About 5 years ago, yeah. Yeah, right? 5? Yep. Yeah, because, and it's really interesting that you said season 2 to season 3, because I was just last night watching a clip of you. You were on like the show Gary Vee was doing at the time, and you were explaining marketing inside a restaurant.
The red napkin.
Yes. And
yes.
how the statistics of get them to come in for a second time. Once you get them for a second time, it's 40% likely that they'll come for a third time. But once they're in for the third time, now you're at 70% that they'll come in for a fourth. And now you've got
a great memory. And that's what restaurant operators, and I'm going to say a lot of retailers blow it. You don't market to one visit, you market to 3.
Right.
You see, how many times have you been out, you had a great time, but you don't think about it. It's not in your cycle. It's not in your traffic pattern of your life, if you will.
Yeah.
After 3 visits, it's now creating a pattern. It has a place.
Yeah, that's
in
our
your
spot.
cycle, if you will.
Yeah, that's our spot. And if you say, yeah, let's go out to get dinner tonight, you're like, the first thing that pops into your mind, this is the restaurant we go to.
Absolutely. So that's why and the same thing with the store.
Right.
When it becomes part of your cycle, that's where the payoff really comes in.
Yeah, and I think that all, like, when I go into a barbershop to touch up my beard, obviously I don't need to go in for a haircut anymore. But it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, that's my guy. He made me feel like he was my guy. Yep. I'm not going to any other guys. Like, this is who I'm going to.
This is your guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people don't do it, right? A lot of people are just so concentrating on the singular sale at this moment.
Yeah. And then they discount and people get attached to discounts. I'd rather give it to you free the first time. Because you're not going to get addicted to free. You don't expect free forever.
Right. But a discount, now it feels like you're upcharging instead of going to the regular price eventually when you break the discount, right?
Yeah. So there's something else that people don't notice, and you'll find this interesting. The acquisition cost for a new customer in a restaurant can be $1,000. Can be $300-$400. I mean, an ad in a newspaper, an ad on Sirius,
of
right?
Course,
the stuff isn't cheap.
Yes.
So if you do that and you count the new bodies you get, the acquisition cost per head is very, very expensive.
Right.
Let's say there's a dinner for $20.
Right.
Steak dinner. I can give you that steak dinner. That only cost me $5, and I don't have to pay that $5 until you come.
Right.
So I take serious guys are going to kill me. I take advertising dollars. I'm a TV guy saying this. Yeah. I take media dollars and I move them to giveaways. And I say, come to the restaurant, have my ribs, they're free dinner, blah, blah, blah. It costs me $5 when you come versus thousands hoping you come.
Right. And it's a direct to, like, you're already here.
And you're tasting it, and we're connecting.
Yes.
And now I give you that hit for the second visit, and I give you the center for the third visit.
Yeah.
And you're mine, buddy.
Yeah. How do you think that works in the media and content space? Because you also just signed a deal to do, like, podcasts. Yeah, which for TuneIn.
Yep.
To do, like, podcast and content like that.
You're on TuneIn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So have you, like, wrapped your head around, okay, how do I get the podcast space is so flooded right now.
It is.
How do I get people to first get attracted enough to this show to listen, and then how do I make it, because it's the same thing, you got to go, okay, if I'm dropping on Tuesday, this now has to become part of the regular Tuesday cycle of these listeners, right?
Yeah, I don't think media is very different. I think it takes 3 or 4 listens to get into somebody's cycle as well. Also to get a connection to your personality. I listen to you all the time, but I know you. I'm lucky. You know, I can picture you and I know you and we've hung out together. Yeah. But if I didn't, after 2 or 3 listens, I would know you.
Right.
I would know your personality. I would like you.
Right.
So it takes a few times for that affection from your audience to develop.
And I guess that is the thing. Like, it's the same principle for Bar Rescue.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I can't wait to see what Taffer's going to tell this guy. I can't wait.
Yeah, the guy who watches the first episode thinks I'm a jerk.
Right.
Second episode, probably still thinks I'm an ass, maybe, right? Third episode, he's saying, you know what? I get it. This guy's actually trying to do good here.
Right. Because you get into Act 3, and you're like, oh, okay, here's the turn, here's the...
Yeah. I'm throwing food with a purpose. Anyway, your question about media is really, really interesting. And, you know, Dr. Phil is a really good friend of mine, and Phil McGraw said something to me that was really powerful. He said, take advantage of your unfair advantage. So what is my unfair advantage? When I think about my success in media, what are the advantages that I have? Well, authenticity is clearly one, right? Directness, even anger at times with a purpose.
Sure.
So whatever I do has to be me. It has to be an extension of my authenticity. The other thing is, I don't know if you knew this, when I was a kid, I took drum lessons for 9 years.
I did not know.
And jazz drum lessons. So I'm a very good drummer. I have a drum set in my house. I still play.
Really?
All the time, and I love it. So I'm a huge music fan. So being here to curate a little music program and display music that I love and is really exciting to me as well. And I've always felt that I know more about music than a musician, and I'll tell you why. I play music to the masses. I've owned nightclubs and bars my whole life. I know what happens when that song hits the dance floor. Better than they do.
Right.
I understand the beats per minute of their song and the impact it has on an audience. I understand the instrumentation effect upon the audience. I understand all of these dynamics that happens when it crosses 120 beats per minute. What happens? Where's the sweet spot at 90 beats per minute? Blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting. I've dissected music at a much deeper level than people who play it. In fact, this will shock you, I own the only patent ever issued by the federal government for the purpose of managing music to achieve a desired ambiance in a hospitality property. I categorized 57,000 songs into a database years ago and created a company called Music Plan. And the concept is you got a marketing plan, you got a business plan, you need a music plan.
Right.
And what we would do is we would scientifically analyze the demographic of every venue. We would put through a computer program we created. We would put in a starting library. This is the days of vinyl.
Yeah.
Right? And all the records would be in our own sleeves with color codes and labels and all that. And you could teach a 20-year-old DJ how to play a 60s music program really effectively with songs he's never heard of.
Wow.
He'd follow beats per minute curves and instrumentation curves.
Yeah.
And he would move it in all these kinds of directions. So to me, music is more than just music. It's the ultimate vehicle by which to create energy, emotion, and reactions if you program it properly.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the difference, too, between, like, going, okay, I'm going to take this as a pure art form and just do it for the art, and go, no, there's a business to be had here, and also there's an audience that I need to keep in mind, and ultimately, my job is to please this audience.
Yeah.
So let me, I guess, in your case, statistically,
Yeah.
figure out how my odds
we
are
do
best
that.
at doing that. Yeah. Have you always been a numbers guy?
I've always been a numbers guy.
You love statistics and numbers.
I do.
Yeah.
But when I went to college, I studied cultural anthropology, which is the study of primates and their societies and their culture. I'm very interested in human behavior, always have been. What causes Sam to wake up this morning and put on the clothes that he does?
Right.
You could have put on a tuxedo this morning.
I could have.
But you didn't.
Nope. No, thank God.
I'm being extreme, but you hear what I'm saying?
Sure.
All of us make these decisions in life, and these little decisions that we all make drive a massive economy.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that the person who really understands that decision process, what drives us to make the choices that we do, would be the one who's extremely successful in the marketplace. And understanding that kind of human behavior is what I love. That's why I'm good at bar rescue. I understand these people.
Right.
I feel their emotions. I know what they're going through. I watch their eyes dilate when they get angry at me. I watch the veins pop out of their neck. When that happens, I'm getting somewhere.
Right.
Other people back off. No, I dig in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because his brain is open at that moment.
That's when the chin starts really sticking out.
Bingo.
Yeah.
People back off. I step in.
Yeah.
So human behavior to me is fascinating.
So when you're getting angry with somebody on an episode of Bar Rescue, is it pure emotion, or is it like, okay, I'm noticing their cues, I know what cues to react with to get the desired result? Is it that sort of scientific in your brain?
It is. I think of myself as a Gestalt therapist, which is an in-your-face style of therapy. Sam, I'm there for 4 days.
Right.
In reality, I'm only with them maybe 20 hours, 18 hours. So if I'm going to change this guy's life, I got to change the way he thinks about things. I can build this guy to Taj Mahal, and he'll screw it up.
Right.
So I better change what he thinks, where his eyes go, what he listens to, and all that. And I got 4 days to do it.
Yeah, you have no time at all. It's got everything has to be impactful.
And there's this clock ticking in my head, man. It's a pressure cooker. Imagine if you had to do, 9 radio shows, 3-hour radio shows, after, and the pressure.
Right.
So that pressure puts me on this objective mission. So I'm not trying to manipulate. I'm not actually angry. My anger is a tool to get this person off his ass, you know, to embarrass him in front of his family if that's what does it, to dangle the fruit of success in front of his face if that's what does it. I love the bar rescues where there was one guy who drank all the time. So I took a picture of his kids and I glued it to the bottom of his glass. So every time he lifted his glass, he stared at his children. I want to see you drink now when you're looking at that.
Look right at them.
You got to be aggressive when you only have 4 days. And that's why it is that way. I'm much nicer in life. You know that.
I mean, yeah.
But put me in that pressure cooker. Yeah, I'm a freaking maniac.
It is insane being there for it. And I think I've said a little bit of this before, but like when you're on set, quote unquote, for Bar Rescue, which is literally just in the bar, it's like, because, Jim and me did the one in Tampa, and we're just sitting and we order food and we order drinks or whatever. And there's this moment where I remember sitting there in it, where you walk in with the owner of the bar, and I'm like, wait, the show's happening? Like, we were just hanging, ordering the food, talking to the bartender, whatever. And then all of a sudden you show up, the lady who runs the bar is crying, and I go, oh, this is the episode. Like, this is happening, and everything just starts spinning all at once. It is such an insane environment to be in, because it truly is like sitting in the room. The show's not happening. Like, the cameras are in here because they're checking out a few bars, whatever. And then show's on. We're doing it right now, and we're off to the races. And you're going, what happened? Yeah. The whole thing shifts in an instant. So
imagine me. I get to walk in and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Most reality stars, they're told, well, I'm not going to script you, but these are the points you need to hit.
Right. And that's the other thing.
and by the way, stand on this mark.
Yeah.
And then go over to this mark. I have no marks.
Right.
I got the greatest cameraman in the world. These guys can run backwards faster than you and I can run forwards. So I get to walk in there, go wherever I want, do whatever I want, and tell the story in my way.
Right. And
it's really wonderful to be able to tell these people's story, too.
Yeah.
How did they get in this situation? How bad is it? What's going on with their wife, with their kids? I mean, this is more than a bar. This guy's freaking life is going down the tubes here.
Totally. Yeah. And I was wondering, too, like, that's what I was going to ask you, if you have to take time to get out of angry mode, because, like, when I get angry at somebody, it takes me, like, I need a little bit of time to myself before I can have a healthy conversation with somebody. But if your anger is more of a tool, is it a on-off switch?
Yeah, it is.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's
now,
crazy.
There are times I do get angry.
Sure.
I mean, if the guy is screwing his own family, I'm going to get angry at that, right? If he's getting people sick, I'm going to get angry at that.
What if he's disrespecting you?
I'll get a little angry at that. But, I can understand it's a defense mechanism, too. I got to break that down.
Right.
He's got to stop insulting me and start listening to me. So I got to get us to that point. It's not going to happen by love if I only have 4 days.
Yeah. I was watching, and that's the other thing. We talk about 270 episodes of Bar Rescue. What's great is that you figured out the evergreen format. Everybody in television, everybody in media loves when you can figure out that evergreen format, because you can run these 270 shows from now until the end of time.
It's on right now.
It's nuts. Like, I'll watch it now and go, oh, I'm watching a show from 8 years ago, and it does, and
crazy.
It could just be right now. I was watching the one last night. That was what it was. Fairway Golf and Grill.
Oh, with the mushroom in the walk-in? Yeah. Oh, my God. I go in this guy's walk-in refrigerator. There's a mushroom growing out of the wall the size of my freaking head.
It was crazy. The mushroom was growing out of the wall of the walk-in freezer. Like, they cleared out the freezer, and there's a mushroom growing out of the wall. When you go in and you see that you're now in this food establishment that has literal fungus, I mean, full-on mushrooms. Like, it looked like a mushroom that you would see on a shelf, and you realize there is no shelf. That's been growing
out of the wall. That's right,
for a long time.
Yep, in the seam between the metal.
I mean, what do you think?
It's funny that you mentioned that episode, because that has one of my favorite scenes of all time in it. Mm-hmm. The guy who was the cook in that episode told the owner he was a trained chef.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't. He was full of crap.
Right.
So we busted him on that, and then we went through what we went through, and then we fired him. And after I fired him, my favorite scene ever was this guy getting on like a mini bike and riding out of the parking lot into the sunset. Yeah. But the guy was so full of crap, he didn't know how to fry an egg, this guy. But he's, I'm a chef, a graduate chef. Anyway, it's incredible the things that you see in this business.
Yeah, and what was the possible excuse for mushrooms are growing out of the wall? Like, that level of, I don't care about this place, and I'm not checking on anything.
It's remarkable to me that they don't see these things. Sometimes they say, you know what, there's a real chance that Taffer's going to be here next week. Maybe we should clean up.
Yeah, at least cut that mushroom.
No, right, at least cut the mushroom down, or water it. One of the two.
Something. Yeah.